A 79 not out by Mithali Raj has been India's saving grace so far in the fifth ODI against South Africa. 188 all out is what India have posted. We'll all get down to it on the Outside You Live part by Vespa and Aprilia. But let's take a look at the union of style, performance, and extraordinary comfort, which is the SXR 160.
You're late.
Don't just live life, maxify it.
188 all out in the fifth ODI between India and South Africa. India, remember, had been asked to bat first. Not doesn't look like a good score. Let's take a thought of Claire Cowan and Yash Lahoti on the Outside View Live part by Vespa and Aprilia. Your thoughts, Claire? Do India have enough?
No, well, definitely automatically how we've seen run chases go throughout this ODI series, we would definitely say it isn't enough runs on the board. And so you would want to favour South Africa with the run chase. Now, however, I always live by one saying: you always have to watch both batting sides bat on a pitch. But it doesn't seem that there were sort of too many devils or anything odd with the pitch. I felt definitely sorry for Mithali Raj. It was just like she was desperate to have a partner out there for them to build up a partnership. And you could almost see the anguish on her face. It was kind of like, well, what else must I do? So shame. I mean, the loss of Harmanpreet, it's terrible, but unfortunately, it's one of those things with sport. And her retired hurt at that sort of just at that time was just probably the worst thing that could happen for the Indians in today's game.
79 not out of 104 balls. I think it's the second 70 score for Mithali Raj in this series, if I'm not mistaken. And Yash, we could talk a lot about the impact the first score of 70 had, but not hard to say about this one yet, because 188 out of which Mithali has scored 79. No, she's done nothing wrong. It's the partners that she needed and she didn't get. Your thoughts about her knock? Mute.
Sorry. So, Mithali Raj, what do you call? She's been that epitome of consistency all throughout her career. Having that much longevity with at least 800 plus day breaks in her career is in itself shows you what she can do on her day. In 2021 alone, her scores have been 50, 36, 45, 55 not out, and today another 70. But I didn't like that she came at number 5. I completely, I'll still say that she deserves and she should be there at number 3 for all the right reasons in the world. And today, you again saw that yes, India lost the first 3 wickets, but when Mithali and Harman were there, they were able to just take. They were playing very, very well. With that unfortunate injury of Harman coming and then Mithali not able to find a partner. Dayala Nemlata in her first game hasn't been able to do a lot. Sushma Verma, who is basically in the team as more of a batter wicketkeeper than a wicketkeeper batter, hasn't been able to perform. So Mithali did not have a good, a better batter at the non-strikers end, and that possibly was the overall issue for the Indian team.
Yeah, it looked as if India would yet again, come out of that mushy waters they found themselves in at 3 for 53, Claire, when Mithali Raj and Harmanpreet Kaur were going strong in that partnership of theirs. Another 50-plus partnership. I think it's the most for India, if I'm not mistaken. That graphic, 14th time they've stitched 50 or more in an ODI. So that life then seemed good for India yet again. But once Harmanpreet Kaur got out injured, I think the narrative kind of changed and Mithali was kind of left helpless at one end. Your thoughts on that phase and Mithali's knock, Claire?
No, look, I mean, I know you would love to get your hands on my notebook. One of my specific points was exactly that, was Harmanpreet and Mithali look so comfortable batting together. They just always look like they're in control. Even if they come together and it is 53 for 3, there's no panic. They have a plan. They understand what they need to do, and for me, it's kind of a case of, well, if we can face the next 60 balls or 75, 80 balls together as a team, as a batting partnership, we know we'll be able to accelerate at a later stage. So let's just sort of fight through this together. Let's help each other get in and build the partnership together. And then kind of, the world is their oyster, as we've seen so many times before. Unfortunately, in this situation, Harmanpreet has picked up, and it sounds like it's a hip flexor injury, which could be a little bit problematic. With my background, I understand the hip flexor injury can be quite an issue. And the problem with the hip flexor as well, it can start causing issues in your lower back, as well as pulling through into your quads and all quadriceps and all that sort of thing. So if it is a serious injury, it's not great news for the Indian camp. Let's hope it's just a little bit of a tweak. And then I totally agree with them then pulling her off and the physio saying, come, let's rather go and have a look at this, because that's something you don't want to injure further. And you don't want to sort of increase the severity of that injury, because then coming back on that is going to take her a lot longer. So it was just unfortunate. It was one of those things. But the two of them together just bat brilliantly. You kind of want to go. It's like the duel of the captain and the vice captain, sort of, taking the fight to the South Africans as as your leadership within the Indian team. And also, if that goes really well, the kind of like inspiration it draws and pulls the other players within the squad together. It's just, you can see your leadership team sort of leading from the front. It sends a big message to the rest of the team. So, I feel desperately sorry for them, because I did think that upset their momentum. And, they probably had another score of 260, 270 on the board. Let's be very, very honest. We don't have crystal balls here. But if that partnership carried on for a bit, South Africa were looking to chase a big innings.
Yeah, the last two times we were talking after India's batting, we were in happy land, if I may call it. A score of 250, a score of 270. The Indian fans viewing the show, the Indian fans in us were happy for that score. But I don't know what to make of 188. But yes, we can talk about the batting order a bit, because when Mithali walked in after Harmanpreet Kaur, we were kind of in doubt whether that would be a move that would pay off. But at that time it did, because it was almost as if Mithali walked in at 4, but lower down the order, something was amiss. I think the Indian team management did not know what the Pratyusha Challaru was capable of, or something else, because there was a lot of surprises there as India's lower batting order looked. Your thoughts on that batting order and the performance of the lower order, Yash?
I think so. That's what happens basically when domestic cricket is not followed a lot, or domestic cricket is not viewed in the right proper direction or the way. That is what is bound to happen. You've seen they've gone with the tested thing that Jhulan Goswami should come in at number 8. Considering what she's done over the years, she comes in at number 8. If, for example, Shikha Pandey would have been there in the squad, she would have either come before Jhulan or after Jhulan. And Pratyusha might have even come in at number 11 or something. She's coming at number 10, which completely doesn't make sense, considering she herself considers her as a batting all-rounder than a bowling all-rounder. And then you say sending her even down of Monica Patel doesn't really make a lot of sense. But at the same time, it all makes sense because nobody has been able to perform. So nobody, not even Pratyusha, was able to score runs. So end of the day, it was all like, oh, okay, we just gave everyone the chances. Everyone batted with Mithali, but nobody was able to score. So nothing really changes that way. Had Pratyusha come in at number 10, she would have scored those 15, 20, 30 runs. Then yes, we could have told that, oh, okay, Pratyusha is a batting all-rounder and should have come in before Monica, or even before Jhulan for that matter, considering the amount of runs she could potentially score. But nothing of that happened.
Yeah, for those who are watching, you will be wondering why we are going on and on about Pratyusha Challaru coming down the order on her debut game, because remember, she's on India ODI debut. But here are some numbers. She scored at a strike rate of over 110 a couple of months ago in a Falcons T20 tournament down south in Bengaluru. which was organized by Shanta Rangaswamy. So 110 was her strike rate in that tournament in 7 matches of batting.
Yeah.
And if you kind of look back at the last year in Liste career, 2019-20, she's averaged 28 and her best of 77. So she is a batter. She can bat, whereas Monica Patel is more of a bowler. So that's where we are coming from. That's where these points are coming from. But let's move our focus to South Africa. How good were they, Claire? And I think they understood India's batting more, I'd say, than India themselves, because they were happy to bowl Nadine de Klerk, Anneke Bosch during the batting power play. And I think, in fact, Nadine de Klerk bowled her quota of 10 overs, returned with 3 wickets. And they were also confident that the bowling will hold good because they finished Marizan Kaap's quota of 10 overs very, very early. So I think they kind of had a better understanding of India's batting. What notes do you have regarding that in your diary?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think so. I mean, in our pre-show build-up, I said for me, like, I really wanted South Africa to get the bowling right, and I've sort of said this a couple of times on the different shows for different matches. For me, process is always very, very important. And yes, I know as a professional sports person, we always chasing outcomes and we always want goals, but you also need to at times just make sure that you're doing process right, because you often have uncontrollables in sport, and those uncontrollables can be phenomenal, performances by your opponents or weather or something like that, but you can control what you can control. And for me, the South African bowling has been shaky at times, and I just felt like, especially I mentioned it, our lengths weren't great. And for me today, that was what we did do a lot better. And it really seems like the management went back, they spoke to the bowlers, and it's a case of, it's not like they can't bowl slightly fuller. They all can bowl slightly fuller. It's just a case of, guys, are we really visualizing where we want the ball to pitch? Are we visualizing that kind of bounce that we want to get and the carry that we want to get through when we're running up to deliver the ball? And for me, I thought that's what we did so well today. The fact that Shibnam Ismail didn't even bowl her quota of overs, which is almost unheard of from a South African perspective in ODI cricket. Cup obviously ended really early. I mean, Nadine de Klerk and Anneke Bosch bowling in the second batting power play, as you said. I mean, that's almost a little bit crazy. That's when you would think Ismail and Cup would have to come back and tighten things up, get your experienced bowlers in there. Sekhukhune, for me, has been phenomenal throughout the series. Her economy rate, today 3.1, picking up two wickets. But I'm starting to love her attitude and her celebration and her passion on the field. It's just really, really exciting. She's just fantastic, and you can just kind of see she's a player that wears her heart on her sleeve, and she's doing everything she can for her teammates all the time. So I was thoroughly impressed with her bowling. Shangasi again, she's a young bowler to come in and end with an economy rate of 4.8 against India in Indian conditions. Like, I was really, really proud, and I thought they did really well. So from a bowling perspective, just to sum it up, I really do think it was about the lengths that they got right. At times in the first 4 ODIs, I thought they were slightly short. And we saw Ismail bowl 1 or 2 short deliveries, but the majority of them were kind of back of the length, and then she would mix it up with pitching one up slightly fuller. And that's what you need to do. You need to be mixing it up the whole time. Cup was fantastic again. I mean, economy rate of 2.5 in an ODI, and she picked up a very, very good wicket. I thought that wicket of Priya was very, very well set up. And you can just see Cup's experience and the thought process the whole time. She pitched it just outside the off stump. The ball was sort of drifting away. And then that one that got Priya that sort of came on and bowled her eventually, it just straightened up slightly. Maybe even a little bit of in swing that just nipped back. And then she got bowled. But it was literally the 3 deliveries beforehand that set her up for that wicket. And that's what I liked out of this sort of innings from a South African perspective, was the bowlers just look a lot better. They look more disciplined, and that they were really trying to execute their plans correctly.
So
So
I have 2 pointers to make here on the South African bowling and a question to ask to Claire. So the first is, basically Shangase has looked as a better spin bowler than all the Indian spinners combined. She's looked that good in all the matches that we've seen. Second, I am still not able to understand why Sunellis hasn't bowled. So that's a pointer. I know that their bowling has been really good, but I'm still not understanding. I think so. It was the last game against Pakistan. She took those 3-4 wickets. She's that good. Why isn't she bowling her quota of overs? If she's not going to give her those chances, it's going to be really difficult for her. And the third, and a question for Claire, is Shabnim Ismail's form a concern for South Africa, considering she hasn't looked at her best in all the 5 games that we have seen?
So I think if I can address Janelle, this is sort of around her first. I think, I think it's a mental battle with her all the time. And I think the mental battle has been made even harder now that she's the captain of the side. So, when Danae van Niekerk throws you the ball and says, you're going on to bowl, she's not exactly a character you're going to go, no, Danae, I don't want to bowl. You're not going to kind of have an argument on the field, If Danae's throwing you the ball, she backs you, there's a plan, and she wants you to bowl. And so you're going to say, yes, of course, Cappy, take your cap off, and you're going to run in and go and do your best. In this situation, though, it's kind of the pressure's on her. So now she has to pick when she's going to bring herself onto bowl. And because the majority of the time she's lacking the confidence, she doesn't now, it's almost seen as quite a big risk to bring herself on to bowl. So now she's kind of going, well, now as a captain, if it goes wrong, I'm kind of going to take the blame for myself as the captain because I've put myself onto bowl. Plus, as the bowler, I haven't bowled really well, and I've got tonked for some runs. So now I'm also in trouble for that. So it's kind of a double whammy when you're also lacking confidence in that situation.
So Claire,
yes.
So Claire, coming to that particular point of yours, is that going to be a problem in the longer run, considering they're already grooming Sune to be the next captain, to be the next leader for South Africa once Sedane hangs her boots? Isn't it going to be an issue going down the line? Maybe when Dane is the captain, she's going to just throw you the ball and you have to do it. But once you take up the full-time captaincy, isn't that going to be a big issue, big challenge for her?
Look, absolutely. And I think it's something that the management team, Hilton, all of them, they need to work hard with her about it. We saw her bowl a little bit in the Pakistan ODI, and then near the end of it, she got some form. And then the first 2 ODIs, she did bowl. And I didn't look, she's not bowling her full 10 overs. But, as long as she's getting through 4 or 5 overs, I would say even 6 overs, like I'm happy about that because you've got that leg spin, you've got that different option. So as long as she can sort of hit 6 overs, we don't have to see her all the time bowl a full 10, but at least she's bowling 6 overs. It gives you a different sort of option, a different spin option. So the management team are going to have to work really hard with her, and she's going to have to sort of overcome this. I think the biggest thing often with the leg spinners is you've got to realize you are going to bowl a bad ball, and you can't get down on yourself from delivering a rubbish ball that's going to be hit for a 4 or 6. It happens. Yes. Everyone will tell you leg spin is the hardest art to get right on a cricket field. If you had to take a whole lot of different sports and put it all together, leg spin would probably come out in the top 2 or 3. I can't think of very good examples now, but you know what I'm saying? It's an incredibly difficult skill to master at professional sports level. So I think sometimes as well, that is what she does, is she sort of gets really down on herself and you often see she bowls the full toss. And that's sort of that is the delivery that ends up going to the boundary. And then she kind of, you can just see her body language. She gets withdrawn, she gets down on herself. And then then you'll have a couple of sort of full tosses thrown down the pitch. So it is something she's going to have to work on. I'm a big backer of her in terms of her leg spin. I think she just gives us another variation in that bowling attack. I was a little bit disappointed to see her not bowl herself today. But then again, what I will say is over this ODI, the success of Anneke Bosch has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you're getting sort of 6 overs out of her and she's going for 4 runs and over is an absolute bonus because she is an all-rounder. Nadine de Klerk is, let's be honest, she's an out-and-out all-rounder. She's not sort of like, the quickest ever. She probably needs to put on a yard of pace as well to be really effective. So you've kind of got then two seamers there that are, I'm not saying iffy by any, I mean, they're really good at what they do, but they're not sort of frontline bowlers. Nadine de Klerk got through 10 today, and Annika Bosch got through 6. So then you kind of look at what you're doing with your fifth bowling option, and you've probably now got 2 or 3 options that you can slot in for your fifth bowl. I mean, at times I think it's something like South Africa might go, oh my goodness, who are we going to bowl now? Because we just got so many options. So it's like, like picking straws sometimes. And I know I'm sort of laughing and making it sort of a little bit of a joke about it, but it can also be quite a tricky thing to get right when you've got so many bowling options and you're kind of going like, oh, who should we put on in the situation?
But you have cushion around you.
Sorry?
You have a lot of cushion around you.
Absolutely. So that if something doesn't work, you can always go to a different option and pull that out. So yes, absolutely. I would have loved to, in my little notebook, I've always with South Africa, I always write 7 bowlers down. I mean, I don't write all the names in, but I always leave that 7th spot open for Sine because I'm hoping that she's going to come down and have a trot. Today it didn't happen, but she just needs to carry on working at it. She needs to carry on working at her skill. And trying to, I think it's more about the mental confidence to understand where she should be slotting herself and backing herself a lot more with the bowl, because it just gives us so many different options.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking a lot about this confidence issue of Suneli's. I know a lot of fans she has in India, and she just doesn't want to disappoint them all because see the scorecard. She hasn't bowled a single ball. India bowled out 188. Imagine what would have happened if she had bowled. So, yeah, that's on a lighter note. But it's always good to be consistent, always good to improve in every passing game. But Claire, I don't think this applies to the extras that South Africa are bowling. 13 in the last 2 games, 15 today. I'm sure there's a big red mark somewhere there as far as South Africa's extras are concerned.
Yeah. So 15 extras and 12 of them were wides. Not good enough. Really not good enough. Because again, you'll see, yes, they're chasing 189. It's not a great score in terms. India will be very disappointed. But India's bowlers are going to come out and they're going to come out hungry and they're going to come out wanting to make a point. Julan's back in the team. Like Julan can go and win this game for India, like by herself. Let's call it for what it is. She could have 10 overs and she could come away picking up 5 or 6 wickets, and South Africa will lose this game. And like I said in the pre-match build-up, is will 12 or 15 extras, you're going to have the odd bye and leg bye. It's often difficult sometimes for the keeper to clean all of that up. But take the 12 wides, If you end up losing by 12 or 10 or 6 or 5 or 3 or 1, then you've got to say, like, surely we could have restricted ourselves in those wides. And for me, that's more of the issue. It's just, I don't quite know what we're doing wrong. I think at times we are looking for that full Yorker outside the off stump, and that's where we're going wrong. And, look, in T20 cricket and ODI cricket, if you can put that full Yorker outside the off stump that the batsman can't get to, it's a good percentage ball. But on the other hand, you are sort of leading very closely into sort of that wide side, and that's where we're seeing it. We saw Marizon Cup also bowl 1 or 2 down the leg side, but we must remember sometimes with her that's a big strategy. So she likes to try and catch the batsman on the crease and get that LBW. So she does tend to like to play quite near that edge of that ball going down the leg side to try and square up the batsman. But again, you need to say to yourself, no, we need to make sure we're getting it on off stump, just outside off stump to be able to catch them, not sort of throwing the ball down the leg side. So, yeah, probably if I had to pick on anything today out of the sort of bowling performance, it would be about those 12 wides. I also, from a fielding perspective, I was really happy. There was the odd sort of misfield. Laura Vorfault had one at point that went through her. So there was the odd one there. But in general, I was really happy. And our catching has been superb. The catch that Dupree took really is out of top class. I mean, that was a fantastic catch. I don't think a lot of people understand how difficult it is to come off the boundary like that at that kind of pace, diving full length, taking the ball in front of you. I thought that was a fantastic catch. So from the fielding perspective, yeah, here and there the odd little blips, but in general, I thought it was a really good fielding effort from the South Africans too.
Right, let's press pause to this India versus South Africa chatter. Let's move to a segment we call Vespa, Know Your Player. We have had Claire on the show for a long time now from the South Africa Pakistan series. Let's kind of know a bit more about Claire Cowan, the player. Claire, how did you begin? What was it like? Was there someone you looked up to when you started playing the sport?
Well, I'll keep my story really short, but where did I start playing cricket was literally like many ladies and I suppose gentlemen as well, is in your garden and with my dad. And then people sort of ask, well, why did you open the batting? Or why did you always play so straight? And it's quite simple because we had a very long garden and on my leg side, we had our big lounge window. And I would get a hiding of my life if I played the tennis ball through to the leg side window, because then obviously the window was going to get broken. So I was really forced from a young age to really play quite straight and then the V. So it was many hours spent in the garden playing cricket with my dad. And that's kind of how I started. And I was very fortunate to go to a high school, Rustenburg Girls High School, and they offered ladies cricket. One of the teachers there, who was a biology teacher and head of sport, Morag McLeod, she also represented South Africa from a ladies cricket perspective. And sort of we hit it off, and she sort of mentored me through sort of the early years when I was at high school and really got me sort of loving cricket from a very young age. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how I started. From players that I looked up to, obviously I was really, really fortunate playing in Cape Town at Western Province to play under Kim Price. And so many people will know who Kim Price is. And Kim was just a fantastic cricketer, fantastic lady, and just an absolute inspiration. Her leadership style, what she kind of demanded from her team, and the respect that she got from everyone was fantastic. Helen Davies was also one of the other senior players that I played under, and I'm talking about now, I was a real little snot-nosed, probably like sort of 13, 14, 15-year-old, and these were senior ladies in our Western Province senior side that sort of took me under their wings and really helped sort of grow me as a player. So I was fortunate to sort of, I wouldn't say mix it. I definitely wasn't mixing it with those fantastic players of the game, but just to learn from them and sort of grow an experience from them.
Right, that's a lovely story. We'll know more about Claire Cowan in the post-match show as well. But let's come back to the fifth ODI, 188 all-out. Final thoughts, Yash? 4-1, 3-2. What's the call?
4-1, I feel it should be an easy chase for South Africa. They have done pretty well, and all their batters are in form. So I'm not only sure of Suneli's how she comes after that illness, but the rest of the batters look to be in complete form. It's right from Nora Woodward, Mignon Dupree, Lara Goodall, everybody's in form. Marizon Kaap, so you can't just ignore that. At the same time, I'd love to see Anak Wash at the top with Suneli's at 3. I don't think so that's happening. But yeah, that would have been something I would have liked to see at the top of the order.
Yeah, it's a matter of when, than if, Claire. So when do you see this game ending? When do you see South Africa chasing this 40-over marks, or do you see it go beyond that?
No, I think probably around the 40-over mark. I tend to think this is going to be a difficult chase. I really do feel India are going to come hard. And I think Julian Goswami is going to shine through and sort of just show what kind of bowler and how she can lead this Indian attack. And we all know she can do it. And this is kind of one of the games that you want to step up and do it. 4-1 in a home series loss versus 3-2. Your 3-2 does sound a lot better compared to 4-1. So India definitely don't want to go down 4-1 and lose this ODI.
A very difficult chase, says Claire Cowan. We'll pick up this conversation in our post-match show on the Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia. See you then.
You're late.
Don't just